is the hot seat.
Hi, this is Ron Kloffenstein, actually. This is the hot seat, but Cassandra Harris Lockwood
I'm on the
is
hot
here
seat.
with us. She's the one who's on the hot seat today because it's Martin Luther King Day. So
And I lived it.
And she lived through this. And as we went to break, she was in the middle of a great story. And I wanted to
Yeah, it's an
her
old
to continue
story,
that, so.
really old story. You know, I was 8 years old. I was going into third grade. It was my first day of school. And, you know, I didn't know anybody. Actually, I did know one girl who had been at St. Joe's. And I was sitting kind of in the back, you know, by myself. She came over and said hi, you know, which was really nice to see somebody.
Yeah, right.
And most of the kids, when they came in, they were going up to the front of the class. And there was the biggest kid in the class was up in the corner by the window by the teacher's desk. And they were all chatting and carrying on, and they were kind of looking at me and snickering and stuff. And the biggest, you know, the one big boy said, "Oh, we got a nigger in our class this year."
Wow.
And I didn't do anything because, you know, I mean, that was not the first time I had been called that word, you know. So I just, you know, I kind of, again, I sucked it up, and you know, they were all laughing and carrying on. So I waited till.
And what did the teacher do?
The teacher was not in the room at that time.
Wow.
You see, she wasn't in the room. So
which is something you wouldn't do nowadays.
Probably, right. So I waited till we got out on the playground, and I waited till pretty close to when we were all called in from recess, and I got between him and the door.
Yep.
And I wouldn't let him get to I kept him away from the door. And, you know, everybody else went in, and I ran and jumped him and tackled him high, hit him high, knocked him down on the ground, and beat him up and made him cry.
Wow.
So it was like,
good for you.
Yeah. And so, you know, that was the last time he called me that name to my face.
Yeah.
To my face.
Right.
And I had a lot of friends all of a sudden, and it took me years to figure out that he was probably the bully.
Yeah.
He was probably the bully of the class. And that I had taken him out the first day of school and, you know, toppled his crown.
Right.
And then I became like the king, the queen of the schoolyard.
Yeah.
And I beat up the bullies.
That was strategic strike.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, you know, and I used that technique several times.
That's a good technique, right? Because
all the teachers are in, all his friends are in, you know. Yeah, no, it's me and you, dude. Yep. I'm taking your butt down.
I love that. So when do you remember like becoming aware of like the
black and white thing?
Well, the inequality and also Martin Luther King's movement.
It was kind of dual because my father's very, very light skinned.
Yeah.
And
what about your mother?
Brown, like me. I mean, that's where I get the brown from. It's my mom.
Oh. Was your father black too?
I mean, well, yeah, they call him. He was a mulatto elite. My father's from the mulatto elite.
Oh.
You never married anybody any darker than you. Which is another kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like the other day, I was in the getting my hair done at the African place, and I'm watching the African television, African videos, music videos and stuff. There was not one single pairing of a man and a woman where the woman was darker than the man.
Wow.
And all of these women, African female stars, music stars, were all light skinned. And I was hearing from the African women there, they bleach. But this is an intentional construct, you see. Yeah. And you can watch television and see it today. It's reinforced that a light-skinned black woman is preferred over a dark-skinned black woman. But every single woman in that shop that day on Saturday,
and this was just
weekend. 2 days ago. 2 days ago, every single one was as dark, if not darker, than me. Yeah. So this is something that's perpetuated. It's
the paper bag test, right? They used to call it.
Well, that was back with my father's day, but this is colorism. This is colorism,
right.
And it's defined as that. You know, when it's very obvious. So, but it was funny because every single woman in there was darker than any of the screen stars.
TV.
Yeah.
Right.
But back to that awareness.
Yeah.
It was very early on because
So we're talking about the early 1960s.
Well, I'm in the 50s at this point.
Okay.
In the 50s, yeah. Maybe it's 1955, and I'm sitting on my father's lap. So we're living in the projects down there that don't even exist anymore. And I remember sitting on my father's lap and putting my hand in his and putting his hand on top of my daddy. Why am I brown and you're white? Like, what's going on? Why am I brown and you're white? He said,
Yeah.
I'm not white, sweetie. I'm just a light colored brown.
Oh. Okay.
So in my head, my little, 4-year-old head, I said, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I can deal with that.
Was he perceived as black though? Like, well, like you said, he was the
He
first
certainly
black
identified as black.
Oh, okay. So
Oh,
like
yeah.
when he like integrated GE and became the first engineer,
Yeah.
or sorry, was the first breaking the ice. There,
Yeah.
he wasn't trying to pass his.
Oh, no way. No.
Because people
no.
did do that.
Oh,
back then,
absolutely,
so-
and a lot of his family did. A lot of his, a lot of Dad's family are no longer black. Seriously,
Wow.
but that's part of the deal.
Right.
But as
because
far
you internalize stuff like gay people
absolutely,
internalize
this is
homophobia.
this is why I'm saying,
Yeah.
like a Hilda Jordan does not get it.
Oh.
She does not get what it was like to be black and to have a predetermination. You walk in the door and there's somebody has given a construct to you and what your capabilities and what your future is going to be.
So you don't think like even now people would?
No, they don't get
experience
it.
I mean, not
No, they
to the degree. but
No,
still,
they
it's
don't,
like-
because it would be reflected in their presentation.
Oh.
How about
Right,
Nikki
it is
Haley?
different,
Okay,
yeah,
Nikki
right.
Haley.
Yeah.
All right, Nikki Haley. I'm sure that there are people in her family who are dark,
Right.
Right. But she doesn't have what slavery, huh? Right?
Oh, I know. Just
okay,
today
come on.
she answered the
Right.
question about Civil War, not saying. Right.
But
yeah.
Max.
Do you want to
Smith-
explain what she said today? Actually?
Well, I don't know what she said today.
Well, I meant to the
Oh,
quest.
well,
to the
there was a question.
of
She
what
was
caused
asked a
Civil War.
question.
Yeah.
What was the cause of the Civil War?
Right.
And states' rights, basically.
She'll
Get
make it
out
the
of here.
same way.
You don't back it up.
Right.
Because if
Right.
you had been here and if they had mistaken your creamy brown butt for black,
Right.
you would understand. You would have a
Right.
deeper understanding. And if your
Yes.
people had been generationally subjected to these kinds of traumas
Right.
and offenses and aggressions,
Yeah.
Max Smith.
Exactly. Right.
Max
right.
Smith sang a song today that, oh my God, was absolutely incredible. The days of being of slavery, and I'd love to. I hope somebody recorded it because
Where
it-
today? What do you?
it was at the Martin Luther King luncheon and at Harts Hill, and it was a song that the Buffalo Soldiers they collected it from slave songs. I don't think I've ever heard this slave song before, but Max did an incredible rendition of it, and
Yeah.
just the trauma, just the misery, just the
Right.
waking up and going to bed and knowing you're going to die like that is
Right.
just
Right.
and you're a human being. We have
Right.
all of the same emotions and sentience and abilities that
Right.
and dreams, and well, maybe not the dreams, because you don't dream that you get to a certain point.
After a while, you get
you shut
broken.
down. You're
Yeah.
broken and you shut
Right.
down.
So now, did your mother work outside the home, or was she a homemaker?
My mom was a homemaker for a long time. She initially, when they first got married, before she had kids, she was like a dental hygienist for a black, mulatto elite dentist in Washington D.C. So she did
Okay.
some dental hygiene, then came back and she raised a family, and then she
Yeah.
ended up going back to college, getting her registered nursing degree, and
Wow.
being like the first she was the first ER and OR nurse at Faxton Hospital.
Wow. Who was black?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my grandfather, my father's father, was the first black doctor to be admitted to practice in a hospital in Richmond, Virginia.
Wow.
And
that
the
is
medical
impressive.
center down there is named after him. So I have a
Really?
lot of I have a lot of medical family. So my father's other sister, one was a dentist, one was a physician, the other one was a psychiatric social worker.
So, what was it like to like be in junior high school during this? I remember back like when I was in like late elementary through junior high through high school.
Yeah.
It was obviously a really bad time for people who were gay. It was the Reagan years and AIDS and
No, you weren't talking about
Right.
weren't talking about those.
And I remember how I was like really bullied, miserably, like throughout all of high school for being gay and stuff. And I wasn't out or anything, which is the way that it was.
Right.
But like,
Absolutely.
I had to grow up in this culture of hate, and like you did too. And
I
how
did
did
too,
you,
but it,
how did it
was
impact
not
you?
rampant at Whitesboro. I went through the Whitesboro district. I distinguished myself as a little scholar, I guess, and as a
Yeah.
leader. I was in student government from the time I was in fourth grade. I ran for office. I won all the time, and I was in music and.
Were you popular?
Yeah, I was really popular.
So did
I was
you-
president of my class by the time I
Did-
was a sophomore in high school.
Did you like go to the houses of your white friends and?
Yes, I did, and I was in the
Yeah.
sorority of my.
Okay.
I was real popular.
And did you date boys who were white when you were in school?
No, that didn't happen.
Right.
Not until.
it
Oh
had-
yeah.
it
Oh,
had
there was a
limit.
point. There was a line in the sand. That wasn't going to happen.
Right.
It was the brave boy.
Yeah.
There weren't any. Actually, there was one.
It takes a lot to be brave.
Yeah, and it was. I was a junior. He was a senior. He was like honor society and top violinist, top musician, and I was working at Carol's Hamburgers, which preceded Burger King. And he asked me to go to the movies with him after I was working on Friday night or something, and I was all excited and everything and getting ready to go. And 9 o'clock came and went, and 9:15 came and went, and it was like, oh, geez. And then he finally called me at 9:30 or 9:20 or something like that, and said, my mother won't let me go out with a girl like you.
Wow.
And I think he thought that he was being kind by saying a girl like me.
Right.
But if he had said, because you're black,
Yeah.
it would have made more sense to me. But
Did you understand that that's what he meant?
No.
Oh.
I kind of did, but the way it was said, a girl like you.
Right.
And I wondered, what kind of girl am I?
Yeah, right.
Here I'm in the sorority, I'm
Right.
in the choir, I'm in the dee-da-da, I'm running the class, I dee-da-da, I'm in,
Because it sounds like you're fast or something.
Oh, no.
Right,
No.
So but you must have it must have quickly became aware that that's what it was a racial thing.
Well, he avoided me after that.
He did?
He was embarrassed. He
Oh,
was,
yeah.
because he liked me.
Right.
But his parents were saying, you are not going out with that nigger child."
Wow.
So, yeah.
So what year would this be about? Like what?
Well,
year
that
was
would have
this?
been 66, 67.
Okay, so that was
but
one
I want to go.
yeah,
I want to talk
for sure.
about the Martin Luther King thing because
Yes, right.
the
That's what I'm
impact of
gonna
that. Because
ask about.
I want to get away from just the impact of those marches,
Right.
but the fact that
How did it impact you living in White?
well,
in
because
Marcy,
because Utica, people kind of look disparagingly on Martians, but the point is that we came to Utica for socializing. We came to Utica to go to the dentist, to go to the doctor, go to the movies. So Utica was it.
Right.
And what I find out traditionally is over the years, whenever there were black or native people, black and brown and red people around, that Utica was the place we could go for socialization because,
Right. It's like where the gay bars were in the 90s.
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And so, one of the descriptions I heard when I put together the Black History Archive was Thompson, like George Thompson, I think it was him. But he said, if I went to a barn dance, he said I might as well have been a bale of hay because nobody would dance with me. So we would go to Utica.
And where did you go in Utica?
Oh, no, for him, I don't know. But I would go to I went to the Cosmopolitan Center, I went to CYO dances, I went to school dances. I mean, at that point, we went to the coffee house at Grace Church. There were lots and lots of, by that time, social opportunities. But back to what this was like back then. Those movements were not just in Washington, D.C. There was a movement here in Utica.
Oh, well,
It was
tell us
a big,
about that.
and at that time, it was the Council of Churches really that did the most of the organizing of events.
Uh-huh.
And that big kind of greenish building on the corner of Genesee and Burstone Road, I think it might even be vacant now, was where the Council of Churches was. The Presbyterians were big in it, the Lutherans were big in it, the Catholics were big in it, and all these priests, and a lot of them would get on the buses because there were buses that would go down
To the south.
to the south for the big marches, and a lot of the college students would go down. At that time, the NAACP was big. Well, actually, it was core Congress of Racial Equality was bigger than NAACP when it came to activism.
Yeah.
Now, you know, there's a lot of talking going on, but activism is what, you know,
Right.
is
What makes
is
the
where it's
change.
at. That's
Yeah,
right. That's
right.
what happens, and getting busy, not just lecturing somebody, you know, or having an event, whatever. But
Yeah.
these were real, you know, and it kind of coincided. It kind of coincided with the anti-war movement. You
Okay.
see, so that kind of inserted itself. It started with the civil rights movement. Actually, it started with the beatniks, you know, and peace, and you know, singing those songs. And I can't leave out the music, because the music carried you when you couldn't take that other step. That the rhythm took you, people's voices took you, the energy, the music could move you forward.
What kind of music moved you at that time?
It was
Or
folk
inspired
music.
you?
It was
Yeah.
folk music. You know,
Like particularly, can you name some?
well, you know, there were plenty of them. You know,
Yeah.
"We Shall Overcome" is the first one.
Right,
You know,
right,
"Ain't
yeah.
Nobody Gonna Hold Me Down." There were these you know, anthems.
Now,
There were
and
anthems.
also to give people an idea of and to give me an idea of the culture locally at the
Mhm.
time, were these songs like "We Shall Overcome" played on like WRUN or WTLB? Or,
Yeah,
you know,
actually,
they,
you know,
what
but
they were.
yeah, but there
Yeah.
was only WTLB and
I was gonna say, there wasn't much
maybe
radio back
IBX,
then.
but
Yeah.
the point is that was the theme. When you
Yeah.
had Peter, Paul, and Mary, you had Pete Seeger.
Yeah.
They were inserting into this, you know, regular pop, and
Right.
which was all like puppy dogs and
Yeah,
fairy
yeah.
tales, you know.
Right.
But you know, I think we got to go for a commercial